Welcome to another edition of Between Sundays, and we're continuing on in this pursuit of wisdom. And today it hits on something that for me it can be a little personal. It's about how fast sometimes we speak and how sometimes it's better to listen than to speak, to be slow to words, to take a half step back and be like, should I really respond? It's really hitting at what comes out of our mouths, not only to each other, but also to God. And to think about our words as almost an offering to God. And with our words, what do we offer as a gift? In the sense of not we have to bring God things, but as in, what do we bring of ourselves to God? Do we bring what is good? Do we bring our whole selves? So that means everything is in there. Do we not bring anything? Do we even care about our words, our prayers, our connection to God? And so for today, I've got Ecclesiastes 5, verses 1 through 3. Watch your steps when you go to God's house. It's more acceptable to listen than to offer the fool's sacrifice. They have no idea that they are acting wrongly. Don't be quick with your mouth or say anything hastily before God, because God is in heaven, but you are on earth. Therefore, let your words be few. Remember, dreams come with many cares, and the voice of fools with many words. So it really is that sense of how cognizant are we of the things that we say, or often is it we've said something and too late. We regret that, or we're embarrassed by it, or we know we've hurt somebody with it. What are the ways that we interact with God with our words? Do we ask for help? Do we ask for guidance? Do we spout off? And not that God can take any of that. But how do we begin to interact with our words? And how often do we stop talking and allow ourselves to listen to someone else? There's also part of what these first three verses are getting at, actually hits on something in Deuteronomy and then later in Proverbs, which is about making promises to God, taking an oath or a vow to God, kind of like, hey God, if you let me pass this test, I will, and then to be really careful of doing that. To take a step back from that. Hey God, if you'll just do this, then I will. Because sometimes we make promises that we can't keep. And there's also, at this last verse, something I think that we really need to consider. Remember, dreams come with many cares, and the voice of fools with many words. It's that sense of quantity versus quality, and also of giving space. Sometimes our words need to give space to care, which brings about dreams, right? What are the things that we are trying to achieve in our life? And what are the things that we verbalize to achieve those things, or that undercuts us? That undercuts our success. However we want to define success for ourselves, we can have a different discussion about that in wisdom. But this wisdom of thinking through, what are the things that we say that stop us, that are detrimental to achieving our goals, our dreams, success, that are detrimental to our relationships, whether that's with one another or with God, that tears us apart? How often do we find ourselves needing to actually just chill for a moment and listen, to discern, to ponder, to stop before we speak, to understand the consequences of the things that we sometimes say? to understand that sometimes when we want to respond really quick to someone where maybe we don't like what they've said or we think they need to be corrected, that we need to be really careful in that because we may not get the response that we are looking for, that we want, that we think should happen. So even though this is only 3 verses of chapter 5, these are 3 really challenging verses of understanding the words that we say, of how often do we jump ahead or we say more than what we should. Where's the quality versus the quantity? How are our words connecting or disconnecting us from one another and from God? So how will we this week take a little time to reflect on our words and the way that it builds up instead of tearing us apart? Have a good one.